What's up, old Power Ass crew? Today's video we're doing a drive shaft. There's really technically nothing wrong with this one, but it's got a few issues that doesn't make me feel completely comfortable running it on a full-time basis, even though I've actually had it in it for a while. I'll pull this drive shaft out. I'm going to give you guys a few pointers on as we do the swap out, and yeah, let's just quit the gabbing. Let's just get on with this. Here you're looking at the front part of the drive shaft. This is the yoke going into the slip right here. And watch real, you see a big chunk knocked out right there. But that chunk isn't really affecting anything as far as balance or anything. Like I said, there's not really enough metal to be concerned. But look real close. Watch the U-joint. It's moving inside the yoke. That is a bad thing. I can literally change this U-joint by hand. I don't need to press anything. I don't need hammers. I don't need sockets. I don't need anything to change U-joints in this shaft because it is so worn out. I'm actually moving it up and down right now so I can see it from this side. Yeah, well, I can see it, but I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not. But the cup for the U-joint is actually moving up and down. That yoke's wore out. And back here. Now let's discuss something real quick. Let's watch real close at that cup right there to get position where I can move it. Look real close. See it moving? Here it comes. I hear the comments. Well, if you had them use bolts tight, it wouldn't move. I got these for you, homie. I got them tight. Those things are tight. But what happens is over the years, these straps right here absolutely suck, okay? Hands down, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. If you want sugarcoat, go buy a donut. I'm going to tell you straight up, these things suck. Because what happens over the years of rotational force of the drive shaft in the rear end to get you down the road and stuff, and you may be pulling a trailer, you may be out wheeling, whatever the case may be, but all the pressures that's put up inside this yoke eventually stretches those straps. So allowing you to have movement, see? So I'm going to put new straps on this thing and show you guys the difference between your old ones and versus putting new ones in. Now to remove these bolts, 5/16, use a 6-point socket so you don't booger up your bolts. But honestly, since I'm putting new straps in, the new straps come with new bolts. But why do I say that? You can keep your bolts if you want to keep them as spares inside your rig or something like that if you want to break some. But what I always do, I keep spare kits with me. This strap and these bolts, I always keep all the spare stuff with me so I can swap out drive shafts on the road. Don't like, oh crap, you know, I need to get to an auto parts store to get parts. And since this is being my spare drive shaft, I also keep it with me too. But even though I have run this thing for a little bit too long than I normally do, but that's the one. So 5/16, 6-point, get these bolts out right here, and we'll talk about more in a minute. I'm taking the drive shaft that I run like full time back under with me because what I'm going to do is as soon as I pull out the other drive shaft, I'm sliding this one in. In the event out of the tail shaft of the transfer case, if I start losing oil, I can slide this one in. Gotcha? Gotcha. Oh yeah, I want to bring up one more thing too. There's going to be somebody jump on the bandwagon with a comment saying, well, is that drive shaft marked as to which side of the yoke it came out of? Oh my gosh, you can't put it in wrong or be out of balance. No, it is not out of balance. Here's your balance weights here, okay? This unit here is balanced. Because honestly, think about something. If you go to a junkyard and you find another rig at a junkyard, yeah, good luck with that. If the balance of the drive shaft, the alignments of the parts that it mates to is really that critical of balance, do you not think that if you was to pull a drive shaft out of another rig somewhere, oh my gosh, it's out of balance because it's not balanced to that yoke or it's not balanced to that output shaft? It's not that critical. I'm not gonna say it's not. I'm not gonna say it's wrong. You know, I see all these other YouTubers, they're taking their fingernail polish and their paint markers and stuff like that. Okay, this ear was lined up with this ear, stuff like that. There's only one time that it's really, truly that critical, and I'll show you. And it's not really about balance, it's about phasing. Phasing means if, for instance, you was to have to cut the end off of a drive shaft, okay? Now you got the alignment of this end here and the alignment of this end. They have to be perfect. meaning being perfect is the center line of this coming straight up the drive shaft aligns with the center of this. If this one end or another was clocked, you know, even a few degrees off or something like that, it causes your U-joint, the flexing here of it causes it to be out of phase, and that will cause you binding, vibration, and short U-joint life. So only time it really becomes critical as far as placement of your U-joints and stuff is if your drive shaft is cut, shortened, lengthened, whatever, custom build, whatever the case may be. When it becomes critical is the center line here, all the way down to here, the center line of that. Now looking at a different drive shaft, here's a time that you could definitely mark it if you need to. Notice you got a slip yoke right here, or slip drive shaft, whatever you want to call it. If this piece right here has a balance spot on it, and this piece right here has a balance spot, as you can see right there, then you want to be sure if you have to separate the shafts here, they go back the same. So therefore, definitely mark it here, or squeeze them together and mark them. Therefore, you know you got your teeth alignment up inside here in the correct place. So in the event of splined drive shafts, definitely mark them because you want to make sure this goes together with this just like it was before. So to all the newbies out there and you watching the other videos, I'm not saying that these people are wrong, okay? I'm just saying sometimes it's a bit overkill is all I'm saying. If you're pulling a drive shaft out of another rig, the balance of that drive shaft is not specific to that rig, okay? If it were, you'd have to pull yoke, output shafts, and all that stuff to keep everything in balance. It's not that critical. Sometimes your output shaft on your transfer case versus your splines going up in there, sometimes you may have a specific wide tooth inside the output shaft. On some vehicles, not all vehicles have it, that it will say it will not line up unless you line up that specific tooth. Let me see. Turn my viewfinder around. And what I'm referring to is, look, all the way around through there, you got the little peaks of the spline, but look right there above my thumb. See how it's got that wide gap? That tells it only lines up one way on the output shaft. Now how it falls back here on which part of the yoke of the rear differential, it don't make a hill of beans, people. Let's get this swapped out real quick. Now I've got the straps removed and the drive shaft's just sitting inside the cups of the pinion right at the moment. Now be careful as you pull them out because sometimes the drive shaft, once you take out that last strap, that last bolt stuff, the drive shaft will want to fall down. They'll smack you right in the noggin and yeah, it hurts. Okay, so what I'm about to do, I gotta pull that. We'll actually drop this down. I'll pull this, drop it back. I go ahead and pull it, show you. So I push it forward toward the front of the Jeep. It disengages it from the cups here. We'll work it down until it's hanging like this right here. You see where up inside there? See, I pushed it further up inside the slip joint of the output shaft of the transfer case. So now, I didn't mean to do that. So at this point, I've got it neutral right now if you see where I can turn, where it turns. Because what that's going to do for me is having it in neutral. It's going to allow me to, one, put the yoke, line the splines up, get it up inside the transfer case, align it up correctly. Then whenever I bring it up, I'll be able to rotate it in place, putting the U-joint inside the sockets as it's supposed to be, back inside the pockets here. So what I need to do now is pull this out, put the other drive shaft in, and I need both hands to do that. So guess what? I'll see you guys in a moment. And just a little forewarning, you may lose a little fluid. Yep, you may, or more likely you will, because it's going to run right out right there. Now, rearrange things here. We'll pull it out and get grease. Okay, I've taken me a rag, guys, there cleaned all that, the mating surfaces up real well, so there's no debris between the U-joint cups and the sockets where they fit in at. Now let's talk about one more thing that I've seen a big discussion on inside the Facebook groups. See these little tabs right here? That's what helps you align the U-joint with inside the yoke. You got one there and one there. Now one time on the Facebook groups I got into a discussion about a fella had one of these tabs missing right there. So there's some people just totally spazzing out that, oh my gosh, now the yoke is absolutely junk, you can't use it. the yoke is still usable. Absolutely 100% usable. Now, as I mentioned, this isn't the same rear end that was in this rig before. This rear end right here actually come out of rust bucket because I chunked, as I mentioned earlier, I chunked the bearings that hold the pinion carrier, the ring gear carrier. But that yoke had one of those tabs missing, and I ran it for years like that. Zero issues. Now, can it become an issue? Absolutely, yes, it can. And here's why. I showed you guys earlier how that U-joint moved back and forth like that it will slide from side to side. The only thing saving that U-joint from walking out was these tabs right here, because those straps, as I mentioned, they suck. And so those straps stretch after a while, allowing that U-joint to move back and forth. If it wasn't for those tabs, that drive shaft would leave home and be gone. And next thing you know, you got the drive shaft acting like a hammer on the bottom of your Jeep, or breaking your output shaft on your transfer case, and all kinds of good carnage. So how do you prevent that? Well, I'm going to put these straps in, and that helps, again, get a good tight seat. But my tabs on this one are good. But I mentioned a moment ago that I ran it for years with one of the tabs broken, right? I said that just a moment ago. But how did I do that? I had the U-bolt conversion. I drilled these holes out here, all four of them, and put forward U-bolts inside there. So therefore, the forward U-bolts hold the drive shaft and the U-joint and all stuff very securely. It doesn't allow the U-joint to move back and forth or back forward and aft either way. It holds the cups securely. It doesn't allow it to move like the straps do. So if you got one of these right here broken, you don't have a choice but to either replace the yoke if you want to run the straps, or drill it out and put the U-bolts, the forward U-bolts in, so therefore it securely locks in the drive shaft, the U-joint. Let me repeat that because somebody's going to blast me in the comments. If you got one of these broken and you got just the straps, I think I got them under here somewhere. And just so there's no confusion, I'm reaching to get this part here to show you. This is what I'm calling straps. U-bolts are something different, and I'll show you those in a minute. It's like I got a new set. This strap across there, when they stretch, they allow, as I showed you a moment ago, I know I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. If that U-joint's moving back and forth because of this strap here not securing the U-joint, yes, those tabs become absolutely vital, because then that U-joint will walk off one side. Hypothetically, if this right here was broken and gone, that drive shaft would go that way, completely out, and next thing you know, it slings the U-joint out and you're broke down. So the only way around that, if you've just got to run everything, I got to have everything just like the factory does it, then you're going to have to change out the whole yoke if you've got broken tabs. This one has good tabs, I'm okay. But if you're one of those that's got to be a purist and everything's got to be just like the factory did it, you're going to replace the whole yoke. Or, if you don't mind a little bit of mod, as I mentioned, drill these holes out here, put forward U-bolts in, and I promise you, that is a very worthwhile mod, because you will not sling another drive shaft unless something got totally abused. Okay? Alright. So I'm going to slide this puppy back up in here, and I'm going to show you the new straps versus U-bolts in a moment. So before I go out and get the straps to the U-bolts, I'm going to go and put this drive shaft, kind of set it in the pockets of the yoke for the moment. So I'll show you how to do that. Look how I've got the position of the drive shaft. It's not straight up in the middle, because then your U-joint cups hit on the yoke. Move it out of alignment just a little bit, bring it toward this way, one side. You can bring it up, just a little slight little rotation, rotate it back in place, move it in, and right there is what I'm talking about, the tabs holding your U-joint in place. Of course, I don't have the straps on right now, so it's able to move back and forth a little bit. But as of right now, without the straps, the U-joint, the drive shaft will kind of sit in place while I go out there and get the straps I should have brought under here with me. And here's the replacement straps. You can see on the bolts right here that they come with Loctite already on them. Here's a little closer look at the Loctite's already on the bolts. This is a kit that I picked up at O'Reilly's. Part number 81020. Now here's what I'm talking about doing the U-bolt conversion. This is a brand new U-bolt for a Ford rear differential. This is one of the old straps. Notice the alignments of the holes. They are absolutely perfect. Now, in order, like I said earlier, in order to use these U-bolts right here, you have to drill all the way through the yoke, then run this through, then you put the nuts on the backside. The nuts are all the ground now. Now here's like one of the lock washers, and here's the bolts. But what I always, even though the lock washer and the nut does a very fine job, I still always Loctite them just for added insurance. But the beefiness of the U-bolts here, that's like solid strap steel right there, you know, being squished down to these bolts right here. And this stuff is not going to stretch. It's not going to stretch. Way better than those. But again, you know, I'll pop up the video here and down in the description down below the video where you guys can check out the video where I did the U-bolt conversion. And you'll better see why I recommend these. Because I'm not doing a U-bolt conversion today. This is actually, I picked up some parts to do a project that you guys may see later on. And just in case you want to know the part number for those, 81004. Again, I picked these up at O'Reilly's. They're about $5 a piece or something like that. So what you can do is set up your strap and your bolts over on your leaf spring right here, so they're just kind of within reach of reach here, reach there, go back and forth with everything. And in case you guys didn't wonder, that's where your fuel filter's at for the fuel injected rigs. So what you're going to do here is, I'm going to try to do this with one hand, holding the camera. Take the little strappy thing here. And, okay, I got to rearrange this. Feed your bolt for right yonder, and get up here. And screw that in like that. Get the thread started. Get the thread started. Okay, I need both hands. I am so right-handed, not left-handed. But anyway, you get the point. But one thing you don't want to do is, like, you can see where the strap's positioned right now. Just get your thread started, but don't try to put it on it, because then what you're going to have a problem doing is your strap coming over top of the U-joint. So if you want to hang it down like that, I'm just trying to do it for camera purposes. But yeah, so I'm going to get that thread right there started. Come on, start it. Would help if I turned it the right way to begin with, wouldn't it? Duh, brain fart. So now we got that one started. And get this one started. Then do the same thing on the other side. Just get them tightened down real quick. I'll be right back. And there we are. Got them all tightened down. Looky here, she's solid. No, zero, nada movement. Up and down, sideways. The cups are not sliding in the yoke. I mean, it's rock solid. So again, whenever you do U-joints or whatever, even every so often, crawl underneath your Jeep and check the movement of your U-joints. If it's moving side to side like it is in this, like we showed you at the beginning, change those straps. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys about something. I run into a little snafu. I run into a little issue, and I'm going to show you what's going on. Look at that one. It's nice, shiny, pretty, isn't it? Yeah, baby. Come over here. Look at that grungy looking rascal. Yep, that's one of my old ones. I had to reuse one of my old ones. So what had happened, I wasn't paying attention. Here is the other strap. See how nice and shiny? But it's the wrong one. It was in the Dodge Jeep box, but I have no idea what that strap's for. But it's not a Dodge and Jeep. So what I had to do is I modified that strap just a little bit. I am going to the auto parts store and getting another brand new one. Absolutely yes. But if you were to run into a situation like that, and you're under your rig and you're changing it out, you're putting all your new parts in, and you run into a case like I have here, where this is the wrong strap, heck, even the wrong bolts. The bolts are freaking massive. That, are you stuck? Not necessarily. I mean, your Jeep's not down, so don't be freaking out. You can always reuse your old parts, as you've seen here, to get you to the auto parts store to get a new strap. Now let's just say, for instance, you broke down on the side of the road or something like that. You don't want that U-joint movement back and forth, right? So let me come out from underneath here real quick and I'll show you a little trick. Now the beauty of your old parts is it shows you the contact patch. Look right here in the middle. There is no contact in the middle of that whatsoever. Again, one of the drawbacks to using these straps versus U-bolts. U-bolts get a good solid contact. Versus these, well, you got that. So as my situation on the Jeep right now, reusing one of these straps technically is allowing one side to be loose. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the auto parts get a new one, but what I did was stood this up on its end like this, tap the top of this right here with a hammer and bend it closed just a little bit, just tiny little bit. Don't smack it too hard or knock it too far out of line, because what you want is your bolt still to line up here going to your yoke. So you stand up on its end like this right here, tap the top of it with a hammer, and what you're trying to do is bend this whole system right here inward like this, and squishing it inward a little bit, which tightens your contact patch here and here. And again, if you do it too much, then you can have alignment issues with your holes going into the yoke, okay? So that'll tighten your U-joint back up. I do not recommend doing it to say, instead of buying a new kit. This is, okay, if you're going down the side of the road and you're broke down and, you need to change out your drive shaft all of a sudden, and you happen to have a spare drive shaft, which I carry with me a lot, that this is a good roadside fix or a trail fix to make sure you're as solid as you possibly can be. So that's what I did. So I'm going here in a minute to get the proper kit. Now that we got the old drive shaft out, let's talk about what is wrong with this one. Now this right here is the end that joins onto the yoke of the rear differential. Fairly new drive shaft, fairly new U-joint. It's just got a little bit of crud because my rear seal's leaking, so I just kind of coated all this crap in oil. Let's see. Watch real close to the cups. This yoke is done. Chunk of it knocked out right there. It's stretched. Look how it moves back and forth. Turn around this way. Get stable. Yeah, this yoke right here is absolutely just done for. So I need to replace that yoke right there. Again, this can be a drive shaft you can keep in your rig for a case of a spare or something like that. But that is so worn out that I'm going to go ahead and give me another rear yoke at one point or another to make that a bit more reliable. That's it. That's what I'm looking for. So I can move it up and down, even forward aft a little bit. Heck, you can see how shiny it is on the edge right there where the yoke's been moving. Let's see, check here. Check the drive shaft itself. No movement in the drive shaft as far as the U-joint goes. So it's all that yoke right there is where all the slop's at. Again, that can be a trail drive shaft or something like that, a trail yoke if you really need it and you're out of options. Or, again, keep a spare drive shaft in your rig in case you're on a long trip and you blow a U-joint. You can use this to swap out. Will it get you down the road? Absolutely. Odds are that may run for a long time before it starts giving you any issues, but I wouldn't trust it for a really long trip, which I haven't been on a long trip in my rig in a while now. Now I'm going to show you guys one more little trick. Those of you may already know where I'm about to go with this. Okay, if you see that right there in the background, some of you may know what I'm about to do. Okay, just kind of wipe it down, just kind of get all that major crud off. Then you take your electrical tape, stretch it around that, hold the end right here, get it over here, stretch it, pull it over top of your U-joints, over your cups. And what you're doing, you hold these right here on so they don't come off across. So therefore, wherever you stash it, wherever you throw it, whatever the case may be, your crosses will stay put where they're supposed to. Golly, the cups will stay on the cross like they're supposed to. Put a few wraps around it. Now oftentimes what I'll do is, depending on the quality of the tape you're working with, break it off here. Notice where I broke it off at. Cup here, it's in between the cups. Then take it off, which I don't have one in my hand right now. I'll be right back and I'll show you. Right here where I ended the tape, get your wire tie, run underneath it, roll your tuck your tape under like this right here. Then pull your zip tie over top of it, zip tie it down like so. Because rolling your tape down and under like that makes it force it around the cup right here so it doesn't slide off the cup. And by zip tying it right there, it's like here's the end of my tape. By zip tying it right here, if you got this thing stored in a place where, you know, the outside elements of, you know, it gets hot outside, whatever, if you've ever worked with electrical tape enough, you know that once it gets hot, the glue gets all gummy and it'll start turning loose. And then your tape, because where you stretched it around all this to make sure those cups don't come off across, the tape will start turning loose and sliding off the U-joint. So, ending it right along in here, zip tie it right there, wrap your tape down under right here, forces it to wrap around this cup, and it doesn't allow it to slide off the cross. Doesn't allow it to slide off the cap that's on the cross. There you go. I'll get it out in a minute. Then at that point, you can cut off your little tail sticking right here, or you can take this tail, tuck it under like this, let it go between the cross and the U-joint, tuck it down inside there, push it, boom, done. Here I'll put a link down in the details descriptions down there to where it'll take you to a playlist to show you how to change U-joints, how I did the U-bolt conversion. I'll put all that down so you guys can check out all those videos. Also, you know, you've probably seen throughout the video a pop-up that shows, hey, this is the video for the U-bolt conversion. I highly recommend a U-bolt conversion, I really do, because this saves you potential headaches later on down the road. Now, if you're nervous about doing, you know, drilling your yoke or something like that, I totally get it. I totally understand. You don't want to mess up because you can actually make that yoke junk. But if you've already got your yoke broken, like those little tabs I mentioned earlier, if one of those tabs are broken, at about that point in time, it becomes mandatory to switch over to the U-bolt conversion or change out the yoke completely. Your call on how you want to do that. I'm not a big fan of pulling the yoke out of the diff, so what I personally do, I drill out the yokes, put the U-bolts in, and call it a day. The U-joint does not move with those U-bolts versus the straps. As you've seen, the old straps allow the U-joint to flex back and forth because the stretch gotten old and stuff, allowing the U-joint to move, versus I put the new straps in and then the U-joint was solid, did not move in the yoke anymore. So just be sure to crawl underneath your rig every so often, check those straps, make sure your U-joint isn't moving, because if it is, you're just on a ticking time bomb as to when that U-joint's going to turn loose, and those straps are going to keep stretching more and more. Next thing you know, you've lost a drive shaft going down the road. So if this video helped you, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, leave me some cool comments down below, and everyone, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. Peace out. Later, y'all.